I'm David Hepworth. Thanks for clicking this Word in Your Ear podcast, videocast thing for which there is no name. Mark Ellen and I have been creating in this line since 2007. And if any of it has met with your approval, then please click to subscribe because it helps. Leave a comment because we like to hear from you, and maybe even consider becoming a Patreon supporter because then, well, you'll be one of us. Visit patreon.com/wordinyourear for details. Welcome to another Word in Your Ear. And our guest today is somebody whose record I probably organised when I was working in a record shop 50 years ago. Yeah. And the first album by Brian Protheroe was one of those things that you always kept in stock because there would always be some people coming in and wanting it. They always thought that they were the only people in the world who wanted it and were pleasantly surprised that it was there. And this record has turned out to have an extraordinary kind of long life, really. And so we're now here to mark the reissue of this record in a new series from Chrysalis Records. So welcome, Brian Protheroe.
Thanks very much. Nice to be alive.
Absolutely, that applies to both of us. So let's just go back. I was intrigued by, you were brought up where?
Brought up in Salisbury, Wiltshire.
Right. But you came to London with a band, is that right?
I came to London with Folk Blues Incorporated. The three of us hitched to London in 1965, yes, because I had my 21st birthday in London. So we went around the folk clubs, went around to the Troubadour and Les Cousins and all those folk clubs that were going strong in the mid-60s. Met Paul Simon. Paul Simon was doing the same thing as us.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so there's three guys, what, acoustic instruments? What were you doing?
Yes, two guitars and three of us singing.
And what was the repertoire?
It was, Bob Dylan, Peter, Paul and Mary, and more obscure things. And things that actually we started to. There was a song of mine called "Climb in My Boat," which we used to do, but it was mainly traditional folk songs, and we were okay. We did okay, and we made a record of Bob Dylan's "When the Ship Comes In." We were on BBC.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
We were on BBC Radio. There was what's the Saturday morning?
Saturday Club.
I think we're at Saturday Club. Who presented that?
Brian Matthews used to do Saturday Club, but that was the big thing.
And I was interviewed by Brian Matthews a bit later on, I think. Must have been in the 70s, yes.
Yeah. So that was part of what's gone down in history as the great folk scare, hasn't it? Absolutely everybody piled in, didn't they? It was all post Bob Dylan and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, and later on, I ended up in a band, the Albion Band, folk rock.
Of course, right. Yeah,
that was
right.
1980, yeah.
Right, with Ashley Hutchins, started by Ashley Hutchins. And
the wonderful John Tams.
Right, absolutely.
The folk John Lennon, as everyone used to call him.
Right. So give me an idea of what London was like for some, starry-eyed young chap who came up with his guitar in a case and looking for the streets paved with gold and so forth. What was it like in 1965? Where were you living and so forth?
We were living in Cheam, in one room, in the flat of a friend of ours, a blues singer called Jerry Loughran.
Oh.
And we met Jerry in a club in Southampton, which we used to play in regularly, and he was generally top of the bill. And he was sort of Anglo-Indian, very sexy, and with a sort of Ray Charlesy bluesy voice, and used to do all sorts of. He had a wonderful way with a Martin D28 guitar that he used to play, which I subsequently copied and got one myself. And we stayed there, him and his wife, and we just had the one room. And every morning we had no money,
Yeah, I bet.
of course. So we had cornflakes for breakfast, and then we went into London round the folk clubs, and having coffees when we could afford it, and missing home.
I'd say I was intrigued by the detail at the beginning that you hitchhiked to London.
We did hitchhike, yeah. Well, we got a bus out to the outskirts of Salisbury, and then we got off the bus and started walking to London and putting our thumbs out.
You tell the youth of today that they won't believe you, but it was it was the main means of transport, wasn't it, in the 60s?
That's right. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So were you at the same time dabbling, if that's the appropriate word, in theatre?
Yes. Well, in 64, let me get this right. Yeah, in 65, in the early 60s, I joined an amateur theatre group in Salisbury called the Studio Theatre, who were great, who used to do unusual things that the local rep company wouldn't touch. James Saunders, I'm not going to be able to remember all the names, but so I got hooked. A girlfriend got me in. She was a member of this Studio Theatre, and she got me in, and then I was quickly hooked on it. And then so music and acting sort of went in parallel journeys from about the early 60s. I was in a rock band when I was 61. But when it was 61, not when I was 61, and then the folk group, and then a folk rock band, and then singer-songwriter.
Right. So you found your way to making your first record via the theatre. Is that right?
That's right. I was on tour with a play, a sort of a bodies on the lawn thriller called Death on Demand.
Is that a genre, Bodies on the Lawn? I never knew that. Bodies on the Lawn thriller. That's very, very good.
And I played a pop star called Johnny Tomorrow. And the writer, the author of the play, had written a song for this character to sing at the piano. And he asked me, he knew I was a bit of a musician, and he asked me to write a tune to it. And so I did. And he was so impressed by this that he asked me to make a little demo. And it was him who went round to the various record companies and said, listen, this is great. He's a genius songwriter. What do you think? And Chrysalis offered me a contract as a result of that. I think he went around to Decca and a couple of other places as well. But it was sort of accidental.
And you were taken by surprise, presumably, by the interest from Chrysalis.
Oh, yeah, certainly was. It was very exciting. Yeah. I hadn't thought of making music my career. I don't remember. I mean, apart from enjoying playing in bands and folk music, it felt just like a sort of amateur excursion to pass the time, really. I can hear my younger self saying, "No, it wasn't. You wanted to be a star," but I don't think that's true.
Right. So how do you get from that song to your songs?
Well, I was, as I say, when I was with the folk group, I did write a song called "Climb in My Boat." I was sort of dabbling with songwriting then, unrequited love, typical songwriters that a late teenager, early 20s would write. Then I think I'm jumping a bit to 1968, when I joined a theatre company in Lincoln, and in those days, the rep company around Britain was you could actually get a job for 2 years at a time in a company and learn your trade rather than go to a drama school, and that's what I did. And that was 1968 to 70. I was in a Lincoln theatre company. Met a chap called Martin Duncan, and we became partners in songwriting. He was a very unusual, quirky songwriter, would write lyrics that weren't really conventional. I was more of a conventional, at that time, songwriter. I was writing things with, verse, chorus, verse, middle eight, and end. But he would go all over the place. He was very influenced by the Dada movement, and he had a very surreal way of looking at the world. And he ended up being a very successful director, and indeed opera director, all around the world. And we're still in touch.
Right.
So that was really the beginning of more serious songwriting. He would take me in directions that I wouldn't normally take, but together we had a collection of songs which are all very different from each other, and that's been the way that I work now. I was absolutely I was so absorbed with the Beatles. I'm 2 years younger than Paul, so of course I was a huge Beatles fan. And when I was at Lincoln, well, it was just before, it was in 1967. I had a spell at Lincoln with a different director, and it was the summer of '67 when Sgt Pepper was released. And I remember borrowing a Dansette, a record player, and in the beautiful sunshine in my digs, I listened to Sgt Pepper and just twice over, and I didn't stop crying. It was the most glorious thing to think that there were people in the world that were producing such extraordinary work. And so it was their eclecticism that I caught on to. And now the latest album that I'm doing, which I'm just working on the final song, and then it'll be released, it's more eclectic than you could possibly imagine. So yes, songwriting has been and is now my main occupation. I think of myself as a songwriter. I still have an equity card. I still pay my
just in case. You never know. You never know.
Yes, and what I used to do when I wasn't actually acting, mainly on stage, I did the odd voiceover, and in fact, I was the voiceover for First Dates for 8.5 years until about 2 years ago, and then they decided to give me the elbow. They wanted a complete reboot, Channel 4. But that was a great gig. But now I'm a songwriter.
So when Chrysalis arrive and say, okay, we want to make a record, how do you come up with Pinball?
It was like writing a diary. I was living in Covent Garden behind the Cambridge Theatre. It was a small house in Shelton Street, and a director, female director friend of mine, owned this house for a while, or rented it, I'm not sure. She had the top floor. A friend of mine, another actor, had the bottom floor, and I had the middle one, the middle room. I mean, it was just one room. So I just split up with a girlfriend. I had no money, I had no work. So that produced, and I used sometimes to walk along to Endell Street to a pub called the Cross Keys, and they had a pinball table, and I used to play that regularly, and take home a couple of bottles of pale ale. That's became a reference. walking one Sunday morning around Soho, which I used to do very early, get the paper and walk around. Soho was just, at that time, it's this beautiful little village. And I remember walking past a bookshop, and there was a newly published book about Marilyn Monroe. And so that was included in the song. Also, there's a reference to the Beatles, to the friend of mine that I mentioned earlier, Martin Duncan, the songwriter, who was the good friend, come on down for the weekend. So it was really a diary of what was happening to me. We had a cat, a black cat, who used to leap out from nowhere and in the shadows and surprise you. And I don't know whether I actually finished off the bread. I don't know where that line came from, but it used to jump up on the kitchen table.
So when you played it for the record company, did they think that's a single?
There were 4 songs that I had. I think Fly Now, I think, was another song. And there were a couple of others. And they sent me to, what's that lovely little studio in South Wales, Rockfields.
Oh, right. Okay. Rockfields.
They sent me to Rockfields to do, with a little band, to do some demos of these 4 songs. And they chose Pinball to be the single. And that's all I know, really.
Right.
And then it had, as you said, this extraordinary life over 51 years.
So tell me, where was it recorded, the final version? Can you remember where that was now?
Yes, oh, God. Those were the days. I've never had so much fun. It was a studio near Marble Arch. God, why can't I remember that?
Was it Pi Studios?
No.
No, okay. I don't know.
Oh, that's terrible.
Oh, don't worry. Phillips Studios, further down.
No, it was in Bryanston Street.
Okay.
And it was. No, I can't remember. I don't think it's there anymore.
Well, they change their names anyway, don't they? So very often don't know. Anyway, it was up that way.
Yes. And I remember coming up in the sunshine from the tube station with my guitar and walking to the studio for the first session and thinking, this is it. God, stop this is paradise. Just, this'll be fine. I can, yeah. This is what life is for me now. And there was, so Chrysalis gave me, a producer who I'd worked. Actually, I suggested the producer, Del Newman, who was very prolific arranger, producer, worked with Elton and various other people. And I just worked with him in a musical that I'd done of Guys and Dolls at Exeter Rep at that time. So I suggested him. They said yes. So he produced the first album, all 3 albums, actually. And there was an engineer called Richard Dodd, who still masters my music for me.
Oh, really?
Lives in America now, very famous engineer.
And the sax solo on Pinball.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Tony Coe, it was.
Who was Gideon Coe's father.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think he died last year. I think I'm right in saying he died not long ago.
What Tony did?
Yes, Tony. But he was the father of Gideon Coe, the DJ.
Ah.
And also plays on a Beatles record, I think. He's a jazzer, obviously, but
he was a jazzer, yes.
Yeah.
The funny thing was that when I was on Top of the Pops.
Oh, go on. Tell us about Top of the Pops. Go.
Well, he came along because in those days you had to mime. No, you couldn't mime. You had to sing live with the Top of the Pops orchestra, which was a nuisance. So you come in on a Wednesday afternoon to record with the Top of the Pops orchestra, and Tony came into that, and then then you sing live with that recording on the following day, on Thursday. But Tony came in, had no recollection at all of the gig that he did in the studio.
On the record.
On the record. He had no memory of it at all. So I tried to sort of sing it to him, and I don't think we even played it before he actually had to play the solo.
It's classic, this, because with pop records, what you always want is play it the way you played it on the record.
Yeah, that's right.
With jazz, that's anathema, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes. So it was nothing like he played on the record in the version of Top of the Pops.
Who else was on Top of the Pops? Can you remember?
Leo Sayer.
Oh, right, of course.
Kung Fu Fighting was number.
Carl Douglas, was that number one?
Yeah, he was number one. Who else was there? There was a song about a dog. I Love My Dog.
Oh, is that Lobo? Is that no? I Love My Dog.
He's a singer-songwriter, I think he was.
Cat Stevens wrote a song called "I Love My Dog," but that's earlier.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of. It was something about a dog.
Right.
Anyway,
right.
The star of the show was Kung Fu Fighting. It was Carl.
So how high did the record get?
22.
22. Frustrating.
What
was that? Frustrating.
Yeah, it was a bit. I mean, particularly for the record company.
Yeah, I bet.
Because when I went on Top of the Pops, it was 22. The next week it went down. That's not supposed to happen.
It's not supposed to happen. That's the Top of the Pops orchestra to blame for that, I would imagine.
Yeah, and probably my nervousness.
Right. But it proved that, it is one of those records that proved to have a strange kind of afterlife, didn't it?
It's got this atmosphere that people like. There's no middle eight, there's no chorus. It's just I suppose that was influenced from my work as a folk in the folk group. But it's got this atmosphere about London, which is quite evocative. I mean, Paul Weller's just done a cover version, and he talks about it. I think he's only just discovered it. I think a friend of his sent it to him last year, and he's done it on his lovely album of covers, which has just been released. But why? I mean, you never know whether a record's going to last, but it kept appearing on compilations.
Oh, really?
Acoustic Moods. What was the other one? The first one. What was the CD compiled? I think it was compiled by a DJ of records that you didn't want people to know that you listened to.
Oh, it was guilty pleasures. I don't know. Oh, good grief! What an awful thing to say that is. Why should
I know.
Yeah,
but it was on there. I think that was the first one.
Did it turn up a film soundtrack or anything like that? Did it?
No. Last year, they played it in the playout of an American cop series, and it seemed to have nothing to do with the series at all. But they decided to play it on the final.
You see, that's the interesting thing about. I wanted to talk about this a bit. That's the interesting thing about records. They just have this strange afterlife, don't they? And it very often has nothing to do with what the subject matter of the record is like, or what the subject matter of the film is like. Things, they just work, don't they? When editors place that bit of music with those pictures, it's fine. It'll do. You know what I mean?
And of course, nobody knows the formula. You never know what's going to happen. What elements are required to make that longevity?
Yeah.
By the way, I presume you know Randy Newman's "I'm Dead, but I Don't Know It."
But I don't know it. Yes,
there's a fantastic version of that which I've just discovered with Don Henley on YouTube, which is wonderful. It's just such a wonderful song.
Really?
About musicians and bands who were doing their final tours in the 80s, and it's still going now.
Absolutely.
We all know they are.
Absolutely. So I was also reading, you say Paul Weller's recorded it, but I was also reading that Morrissey played it to Noel Gallagher recently.
That's right. Yes, someone sent me a recording of Noel talking, I think, or a transcription. They were in LA, and in a bar in LA, and Morrissey had a CD of his favorite tracks. Ordered the barman to put it on the record player, and one of them was Pinball, and Noel hadn't heard it, and Morrissey was furious he hadn't heard it. It's a big hit, 1974. Brian Protheroe, well, you don't know. So I think, and then Noel took the sort of feel of the track, acoustic backing with saxophone, and he was working on a track for his High Flying Birds album.
Yeah.
And it was the first track, and so he took the form of Pinball and used that for the song he was working on.
Right. No, it's extraordinary how those things just go on forever. And as you say, I mean, you must think this, having worked in theatre and TV and film and so forth as an actor, that things you do in those media kind of tend to get forgotten. Whereas a pop record made in 1974 still sounds the same.
Unbelievable. I know. I mean, there are some films, if you make a popular film, that it'll probably go on forever. But most of my career has been on stage, and an awful lot of Shakespeare. I think I've done more Shakespeare than Judi Dench, to be honest. And I've played all the big parts. I've played Hamlet, Macbeth, Claudius, Mark Antony. All those big parts. But that's it. Once they're finished, the run's finished, they're forgotten.
Whereas the record still, it takes you back to a place, and I suppose it's.
Well, that's what music does, isn't it? Yeah, it takes you back to a place and a time.
Although if you're Noel Gallagher, you don't remember the place because you weren't there when it came out the same time, the original time.
I think Paul Weller must have been, I don't know, 14, 15 when it came out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. So you must be gratified to see this coming out again.
Well, it's lovely. It's great. And I had the privilege of going to Abbey Road to have it remastered with my grandson, who is also a brilliant singer-songwriter. His name's Theo Protheroe. Look him up. He writes music in a completely different way than I write music. But it's very impressive. He uses Logic Pro, as most of us do, but he uses it in a way, when I watch him work and I think, what are you doing? How did you do that? It's like a painter. He has an idea for a sound and collects it from somewhere and puts sounds together in a way that is unheard of in the 70s. I'm sort of getting used to, I started working with music technology in the 80s. And then finally we've got to Logic Pro, which is fantastic. But I still tend to use it like a tape recorder, although there are things about it, technical things, new technology, which I also use. But anyway, I took Theo to Abbey Road, and there was this engineer who's Neil, who I've forgotten. He was very generous with Theo and offered to master his new track for him. And so we just sat in a studio in Abbey Road and watched him remaster. And I must say, the songs sounded as though I was singing in the next room. They were because of the equipment and the sound was just phenomenal. And I think the remastered album, I've listened to it on Spotify, and it's very impressive. I listened to Pinball on the new remastering. It sounds incredible.
I'm intrigued by the fact your grandson, who works on Logic Pro, is still, no doubt, absolutely thrilled to go into Abbey Road and see somebody master a record in the old way.
he's tried to get in, and he actually wrote to the engineer and asked if he could come and shadow him for a week, but he didn't get a response. And I think there may be an opportunity to work there in some capacity at some points, but no, he was really impressed and loved the experience. And
Yeah,
for us, the two of us, he's an extraordinary lad.
so this must be the first time you've seen it on vinyl in a long time, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, not been done on vinyl since the 70s.
Have you still got your original copy?
I have, yes. Somewhere I'm looking up at my record collection. Yes.
Right. So you've still got your records. You haven't traded them in for a.
No, I haven't. Although, they sit there and they're just part of the furniture, really.
Have you got a record player?
I have still, but I never play it.
Oh, right.
I never play it now. I might play it. I don't know if it probably needs a bit of an overhaul.
It needs a needle, as we would have said, back in the day. Yeah. But at the same time, you're doing you got your own new record will be coming out.
Yes, nine tracks. I've always got to have these days a song on the go, at least one song on the go at any given time. It just keeps the creative juices flowing. And for the last, I think, 3 or 4 years, I've released an album a year in the summer. So one's just about to come out. It's totally coincidental that it's coming out at the same time as the Pinball vinyl.
Right. So will the release of the first album on vinyl, will it be accompanied by any live events or anything of that nature?
No live events. I haven't done a live event for a while. I did one at a church in North London a few years ago, but there's nothing now that I fancy doing. It's possible I do one with the Troubadour in West London. Mm-hmm. I had a small band, and we did that a few years ago, and that was lovely. So I might do that again.
All right, but you just have to get a new vinyl copy, and take the stuff off of your record player, replace your needle, and invite the family around and play it. Yeah, and enjoy that warm feeling. It is amazing. It's 50 years, more than 50 years.
51 years.
51 years, and yet we still know we know what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Amazing.
It's an extraordinary thing. It's a great story.
You expect, the Stones and, the other big groups to go because they kept going. They've been doing concerts and touring ever since, really. But I haven't done that.
No, but it's just this record.
Little song.
It's just this little song, this day near Marble Arch back in, 1974 or whatever. Brian, very nice to talk to you.
It's lovely to see you, David.
And all the best with it all.